All right, looks like we are live. We are finally back, which has been, how long has it been now? It's been like 2 weeks, right? Like, you were busy, then my family was all sick, and I was taking care of them, and then got sick myself. So,
Yeah, it's been a while.
honestly, I think we missed a few really we missed a few big stories, unfortunately. But hey, we got just in time for what did you call it, Kent State 2.0?
I tell you what, it's getting a little iffy out on the college campuses.
Well, obviously that's gonna be the big story for tonight because it is still popping off right now. I really thought it would die down after just one day or so because that's kind of what a lot of these. Well, let's face it, that's kind of the news cycle now. And a lot of these kids, let's face it. Well, then again, I guess they have nothing better to do, right? They have nothing better to do than to go out there and cause issues. But we got that. We also got, normally we talk about New York, right? Normally we sit there and talk about how much we hate New York and like all this crazy stuff happening over there. But this time, there's a bunch of crazy stuff happening in Arizona. Like a ton of stuff happening over in Arizona. So we'll talk a little bit about that, as well as some interesting, an interesting legal case involving AI, which should be kind of, we'll get into that a little bit later. But for right now, I say, well, let's just go and jump right into this because it's getting kind of nuts out there about it. But for those of you who haven't seen, I don't know how you haven't, there's been pretty much pro-Hamas protests going on most college campuses. And I'll call them pro-Hamas, and actually I'll let them say it for themselves here. Well, here, I'll play this video right here. They'll let you know.
Keep it moving, you Zionist bitch. Keep it moving, you Zionist bitch.
We are Hamas!
You're Hamas, wow. That's a good one. You're what? You're Hamas?
Yes, we're all Hamas, pig!
Such a lovely lady, isn't she? So
Yeah, and I'm sure she's a student.
yeah, yeah. I think a lot of them have already been shown that they're like going from campus to campus constantly. Like there was one person who said, "Well, I was over in this part of the country last week, or a few days ago. Now I'm over here on this part, showing our support over here." It's all astroturf to a certain degree, right? And here's the thing.
To the nth degree, it's total astroturf.
Oh, well, yeah, exactly.
Matching tents, matching signs already pre-made going out that are produced, not just handmade and things like that.
And here's also the thing about a lot of it is that normally in the past they've actually been oh, well, we're not pro-terrorist, we're just anti-Israel, we're anti what they're doing over on the West Bank and stuff like that. Now they're just saying straight up they love Hamas. Like that woman there. You have this guy here. He says, "Never forget the 7th of October. That it will happen not one more time, 5 more times, not 10 more times, not 100, not 1,000, but 10,000 times." I mean, these are just direct calls for terrorism, as well as people directly aligning themselves with actual registered terrorist organizations. I mean, it's getting pretty nuts out there overall. And we have Jewish students not able to actually get to their classes, Jewish professors having their key cards turned off to make sure they can't come on campus because they're worried about what that might, it might erupt, in a larger scale riot out there. I'm just absolutely crazy stuff. And it's not just New York here. Like this is taking place over in Georgia. This is taking place over in Texas and Florida. It's taking place all over the entire country.
So how would you like to play? How would you like to pay 70 grand and then do remote learning because you might get stabbed if you go to your own campus that you've been for the last couple of years? But you were saying about people traveling from place to place. Do you remember in 2020 during the election and COVID and BLM and all the stuff that was going on? I was out traveling for work, and you remember the story, right? The whole hotel was nothing but a group of BLM protesters that were going from city to city. It was nothing. It was nothing organic about the things that were going on in individual cities. That was astroturfed.
Well, the funny thing is, and a lot of them don't even know what they're protesting. I'm not sure. Have you seen this video right here yet?
Yeah, that was hilarious.
All right, well, I'm gonna play it here for everyone else real quick.
Bad, but hilarious.
And what would you say is the main goal with tonight's protest?
I think the goal is just showing our support for Palestine and demanding that NYU stops. I honestly don't know all of what NYU's doing.
Is there something that NYU's doing?
I really don't know. I'm pretty sure they're... Do you know what NYU's doing? About what? About Why are we protesting here?
Palestine will be free.
I wish I was more educated. I'm not either.
Oh.
I came from Columbia. I was there up at Columbia, and we came down. They said NYU students needed our support, so I came down. I heard there's lots of cops. Some people were saying.
So yeah, traveling across the country to go there, and they don't even know what they're protesting for.
So I won't name the company, but you also remember when Obama's Acorn Group came and harassed our company back in the day.
Yeah.
So the people that were there literally said, what are you doing here? Well, I don't know. They stopped by and gave us some food and some money and said to get on the bus and come with us. They didn't know why they were there, and it was just complete fabrication of what they were doing.
I forgot all about that story, to be honest.
and they got violent. We had people injured that had to go to the hospital. It was ridiculous and completely made up to extort a private company.
But and again, a lot of these people, they are so ignorant. They don't even, I bet half those people who were doing that too had no idea why they were doing it. They were just going with the mob, right? We've talked about this a few times. About the fact
one dude literally said he did it for a sandwich.
And we've already talked about the problems with like mob justice and stuff like that. And this woman right here really exemplifies that, right? Someone who is causing just as much chaos, who's probably going to vote the same way as them, yet who even just says, I don't know why I'm here. You traveled across the country to get here and you don't even know why.
Well, she traveled across the city. So both of those are New York City. So it's not quite that bad, but still.
Hey, New York traffic is pretty much the same.
That's why.
It takes like 6 hours to get to New York, and then like another 6 to get into New York City.
Yes, it do.
But we have there's
So this is the pattern of the left for a very long time. This isn't new. And when our former president was community organizing, they were doing the same crap back then too.
Well, a lot of people point out the fact that this is basically just Black Lives Matter 2.0, to be honest, right? Like, that they're doing basically almost they're having a lot of same tactics that Black Lives Matter used. Obviously, they're not doing the whole burn down private businesses and ruin people's livelihoods yet, thank goodness. But remember, during Black Lives Matter, they had stuff like the Chaz and the Chop, I guess, over in Seattle, where they took over a certain amount of space. And then a bunch of crimes happened there because the police couldn't get in there and stop them. I think like some kids were shot over 100 times while driving their cars. A bunch of crazy stuff happened over there. But it's pretty much what they're doing here, right? They're protesting the idea of a country occupying land by going and occupying land that isn't theirs. It's if the left didn't have double standards, they would have no standards, right? God, it's so.
Every city you mentioned, you remember before the whole Chaz thing or whatever it was in Seattle. I was there right after a murder in Seattle. There was still blood on the street we were walking through, right in that same spot of town.
It should be funny, but it's just so depressing. You have to laugh. You have to.
I don't know what to do about it. I don't know how we're going to fix this. I saw today the pro-Israel faction was really building a lot of folks in New York. And of course, it looked to me like the NYPD was 5 times the amount to keep the pro-Israel group in line, because they were hard to be seen in the pro-Hamas rallies, but they were not hard to be seen. So they could say they're protecting the pro-Israel protesters, but
no. Well, let's face it. We know what it is that if you were a cop, who would you rather arrest? Some of the lunatics over on the left, or of course the good, just normal people over on the right? Who's easier to arrest if you're told to? I mean, that's the whole thing, is that they know for a fact if they go in there and try to bust up a lot of this stuff, and a couple places have. Texas, they have been going through some of these areas and arresting people. Now, actually, I'm going to pull up this article right here.
That wasn't real Texas, though. That was Austin.
That is true. So I'll pull up this right here because that's been one thing that's been kind of crazy right now. Texas, of course, trying to take a firm stand against this, arresting these people on the college campuses. However, there's been some interesting things pointed out about this, and I'm not sure what you think about it, but we'll get to here in a minute. So, for those of you who don't know, the riot police have arrested a number of students on campus across the United States on Wednesday as protest over Israel-Hamas war continues to grow. On Wednesday afternoon, police on horseback arrived to the University of Texas at Austin's campus and detained at least 20 participating in the protest, which was organized by the university's Palestinian Solidarity Committee. So, similar to the other protests going on, they're occupying a bunch of space, weren't letting people in, harassing people who were entering, and for the most part, it makes sense that they should be arrested, right? Like you can peacefully protest, but you can't, you can't sit there and cause mass chaos at the same time, right? You have to peacefully protest as part of the First Amendment. However, I will say this, and they list this out right here, actually. UT Austin does not tolerate disruptions of campus activities or operations like we have seen at other campuses. The statement read, "This is an important time in our semester with students finishing classes and studying for finals, and we will act first and foremost to allow those critical functions to proceed without interruptions." Makes complete sense for our college campus to do, 100%. But I'll be honest, I think Greg Abbott dropped the ball in his statement about it. So he has right here, arrests being made right now and will continue until the crowd disperses. Students joining in hate-filled anti-Semitic protests of at any public college or university in Texas should be expelled. He went on to say they should be arrested as well and thrown in jail. I don't really like this angle he's going for. I get what he's trying to do. He's trying to sit there and use their tactics against them, right? They call us anti-Semitic, racist, homophobic, bigoted, all this crazy nonsense. We want to show that they're actually the real anti-Semites. They are the actual racist out there. But at the same time, he's making it sound like the crime is being anti-Semitic. That's kind of what gets me about it. I'm not sure. What do you think?
No, I'm right there with you. You know how I feel about free speech, but free speech does not give you the right to block traffic. It does not give you the right to go on land that's not yours. It doesn't give you a right to disrupt school and all the things that are going on. If you're here on a student visa and you're going to support Hamas, you should be deported immediately and the visa revoked. I don't have any problem with that. And anybody that's out there supporting a terrorist organization should probably, and you know how I feel about the government surveillance state, but might want to put an air tag on some of them folks.
Oh, 100%. No, and I'll still say this too. I know, legally speaking, when you're not a citizen of this country, you're still supposed to have all the same rights as a citizen of this country. I don't really believe that should be the case. I'll be perfectly honest. I think that, we can curb your First Amendment stuff if you're not a citizen personally. That's just the way I look at it, all right? If you're going to come up here and try to undermine our very fabric of our society and you're not a citizen here, why shouldn't we be able to kick you out? That's kind of my opinion on it. However, I will still say...
But speech is not enforceable.
Yes. That's the thing, is that they're not arresting them for speech. They're arresting them for disrupting the campus, but then Greg Abbott comes out here and makes it sound like he's arresting them because they're anti-Semitic. And here's what gets me about that is the fact that these colleges have been anti-white for how long? How much anti-white rhetoric have been coming out of these college professors? I mean, I could point to multiple videos I've done over the past year or so where college professors have literally straight up and said white people need to be exterminated. And we didn't do anything about that. We didn't do anything about when Black Lives Matter was chanting, that they wanted revenge against whiteness. We didn't do anything about that. So people have been pointing out. Oh, go on.
This isn't new. No, this isn't new. So back in the late 80s when I was in college, a long time ago, but went to a small private religious college. Your mom was there. She took a self-defense class. Her self-defense partner was Nazim. He was running around campus trying to get everyone to denounce Israel and sign pro-Palestinian propaganda. And so it's a lot more visible now, but those voices have been on college campuses for a very, very, very long time.
And I mean, now you have the Speaker of the House also going out to one of the college campuses and basically saying the same gist, that anti-Semitism of any kind, has no place on the campus and they should be removed and expelled, which is still kind of, though, giving in to the left's argument, isn't it? Of saying that that there is words you can say and beliefs you can hold to get you expelled, to get you removed from polite society through force, right? Again, I want people to speak freely like this. I want them to yell that they're anti-Semites, because I want to know not to associate with them. I want to know not to hire them. Like, that's what I want to know about these people. It's great that they're so open about this, because it means, well, we can choose not to associate with them. It's just, I feel like there's a golden opportunity here. And people like Greg Abbott, again, he's done a lot of good, so I'm not going to get him too much because he's done a lot of good in Texas. But stances like this are very dangerous because it gives credence to the whole idea that, again, that if you're a minority group, you should be protected from people not liking you. And that, I don't think people should not like people because of any particular reason like that, but you can't make it a case of law. You can't make it a legal case against it. People are allowed to be, I hate to say it, people are allowed to be anti-Semitic. People are allowed to be racist. People are allowed, if Nazis want to have a rally on college campus, if they're not disrupting the rest of the events, they should be allowed to. Communists, same deal. The issue is, are they disrupting what's going on the campus? If they're not, they're free to do it. If they are, they should be stopped. I don't know. It feels like we're kind of I feel like that's just a huge misstep over there for the only state that seems to actually be really cracking down on it, unfortunately.
Well, there's one more state that you don't see a whole lot of it happening
in. Florida?
With the man that should be our president, but the Republicans are too stupid to make the right choice.
You don't like Trump's comments that he's been making? I mean, he's been making some real fun ones. I'll tell you what. What do you say about the, oh God, who was it? The old attorney general. I'm blanking on his name all of a sudden.
Bill Barr. Now that truth post, that was primo. That was really good.
I'm going to pull that up because it was amazing. So
of all the posts that Trump has posted, that might be the best one of all time.
So, obviously, for people who don't know, the Attorney General Barr there, he was very much anti-Trump, right? Like, pretty anti-Trump for a while there. Let's see. But did he come out and just fought endorse Trump is what it was?
Yeah.
I'll see if I can't go on Twitter and find the guy who he just, copies all the post over. Here we go. This is amazing. So Bill Barr basically was very anti-Trump, yet has now come out and endorsed Trump. After, mind you, he basically screwed him over for 4 years while he was president. Let's be real.
He wasn't AG for all 4, so it wasn't quite 4.
Yeah, but his actions still had ramifications for the other years. So but this is what Trump said about it, and this is great. Wow. Former AG Bill Barr, who let a lot of great people down by not investigating voter fraud in our country, has just endorsed me for president despite the fact that I called him weak, slow-moving, lethargic, gutless, and lazy. New York Post. He cites his sources there. Based on the fact that I greatly appreciate his wholehearted endorsement, I'm removing the word lethargic from my statement. Thank you, Bill. That is one of the most Trump things primo. Ever.
Yep.
DeSantis would never do that.
No, he would only lead in a competent manner and do so many good things, but we wouldn't get comedy gold like that. So you got to take the good with the bad.
I just love that. Yeah, leave in the weak, slow-moving, gutless, and lazy, but take out lethargic, even though I think lazy and slow-moving covers lethargic anyway.
Yeah, it was a little redundant.
Yeah, more than a little. I mean, he's not really been called a man of many words exactly. He normally kind of sticks to the same general insults, and when he finds one he really likes, man, he sticks with it. So
the campaign stopped this morning before going to court. That was a good move. I mean, they're making some decent moves.
It's
the
crazy.
problem I
People
see is
hearing them
the
chant
problem I
Trump in New
see.
York.
Oh yeah, no. Well, and even the union guys, the one union
Yes.
head, he goes, yeah, like 3 to 1 of ours. We were all Democrats. Now it's 3 to 1 Trump.
I mean,
But he still hasn't done. They haven't done anything to create the ground game that they need in these key states. They got to get the ground game going. Get all the precincts set up. We got to make sure the watchers are everywhere, because if we're not watching, you know what's going to happen.
poll watchers and where it's legal, ballot harvesting. It's got to be done. And I think the Republicans are finally starting to realize that a little bit. Like people like Scott Pressler has been, I mean, God bless that dude, right? Like he has, he is the dream for any political party right there. That dude has been non-stop across this country. And he's been heavily pushing the whole thing of how we have to start ballot harvesting where it's legal. Very important there, because not everywhere it's legal. But if they're going to play that game, then we have to play it better, because, I mean, it's so New York Times, I think, was the ones who said they fortified the elections, and ballot harvesting is a big portion of how they fortify the elections, where of course they can go and hit 7 apartment complexes in heavy liberal areas in the same time it takes for, you to hit one just small county out in the countryside of that same state. So obviously that's going to give them more votes than the right.
Get a couple of pipes in key precincts so that you have to shut things down. That helps too.
Oh yeah. And having midnight deliveries to make sure that those votes that were totally legit all get counted. We have to make sure of that, and they all arrive at the same time mysteriously. I mean, they must have had a flat tire or something. I don't know.
Well, amazingly, they had just boxes of them waiting under the table too. That just
Oh, don't forget where that they covered the windows so people couldn't see them counting. That's. Or Arizona printing ballots, in Republican areas that didn't fit the scanners properly and had to be counted after the fact, and you just have to trust what they're doing. I'm sure they're very trustworthy, right?
Right, but you can't say that out loud, so you may go to prison for what you just said.
I mean, I'm sure someone, and I think now it's okay to mention this on YouTube, but I'm sure that, when I went to go vote and they told me someone had already voted under my name through a mail-in ballot, I'm sure that was a one-off issue. That was not at all a major issue across the country whatsoever.
No, especially in a nice blue city like Charlotte. That I'm
I
sure
know, right?
just up and up.
I'm sure they're all on the up and up here. But yeah, Trump, he's been, at the very least, he's turning lemon into lemonade, right? Like he's there in New York, and he's getting all the media attention he can get from it, and it seems to be helping his poll numbers. Like he seems to be doing better in a lot of states. All the polls are still shifting his. Now, how much of that's his doing, and then how much of that is Biden being a bumbling idiot, I'm not sure. I think it's more of the latter, personally. When he goes out there and pulls a Ron Burgundy again and goes, and pause for 4 more years. What? 4 more years. 4 more. Oh, okay. That's what I'm pausing for. Yeah. Or about walking off the stage right after. Or the woman saying, oh, and he's going to help us get abortion rights. And for some reason, he does like the sign of the cross. Like, how has he not been expelled from the Catholic Church at this point? I don't even know. I mean, I'm not a Catholic, but I do question the legitimacy of the Catholic Church when they don't do something like expel someone like him. But, I mean, overall, though, he's doing what he can, where he can. It's just that right now, let's face it, you talk about the ground game not being set up. His hands are kind of tied up where he's at right now. I mean, what's a guy to do?
Well, and it's not like the Republican Party is always there to do the right thing. Your boy Pressler, he's got an interesting past, apparently. I've seen some interesting photos that have been floating around of
Was he a little crazy at times?
Yeah, maybe.
I mean, he's pretty flamboyant, so it won't surprise me.
You may think a little left of center if you see some of the photos that are floating around.
He said that he was very left, actually, for a good while. And that a big part of it was when he started looking at stuff like the cities and the clean. Remember, he got started by doing cleanup operations in places like Baltimore and going through there and finding out like, magazines from like 1960s that are still on the streets there that haven't been picked up. Like insane stuff. Because let's face it, Baltimore is just like a rat hole basically. It's a terrible, terrible place. But yeah, he did these cleanup operations there, and he said a big thing that changed him, because he was already starting to kind of look at the right around that time, was how he got so much hate from the left for going in there and trying to do a good deed like that, while everyone on the right was showing appreciation to him for it. So, I mean, he's a good example of, I think, this kind of new right wing, you know what I mean? Where it's, well, becoming more populous, right? It's becoming definitely a lot more populous. And it's almost somewhat libertarian in some of its belief systems as well. I mean, let's face it, traditional conservatives probably wouldn't look at someone like Scott Presler as an idol for a lot of their campaigning, but I mean, let's face it, now he basically is.
Yeah, no, and I'm not, I'm not discounting the good that he's done for voter registration in multiple states. I was just observing.
No, I mean, I think it's been relatively open that he had a crazy past, but
I was just observing. I was wondering if it was some of the photos that were leaking around that kept him from actually getting the position at the RNC, which I still think he would have been a good choice to go and
I'm not sure if he would have been, all because I'm not sure if that's his wheelhouse. Like
well, just officially let him do what he's already doing, just back with a crap load more money.
Yeah, that's true, and he deserves it. He deserves it. I mean, you do a good job. You should.
If they'll feed him money and he's not part of it, I'm good. But somebody needs to keep that cat going.
Well, and the thing is, with him being that much on the ground, he should be able to also tell them, here's where you should be funding. Here are the candidates you should be funding. Here's what I'm seeing on the ground. Here's the people who actually have a shot versus the, millions of dollars you're saying to candidates who have no shot in hell, right? Again, I think, I saw some posts that like they were funding like some guy over in California who it's like a precinct that's like nearly 80% Democrat. Meanwhile, they haven't sent that much money, I don't think, over to like people like Marty O'Donnell, who's in a 50-50 area over in, over near Las Vegas. Which, of course, I'm going to simp for him because, obviously I love Halo, but...
Yeah, well, they're not doing a whole lot to help our boy Mark Robinson either.
No, they don't like Mark Robinson at all. No, the establishment Republicans do not like Mark Robinson. They look at him as a liability, 100%. And don't get me wrong, I understand where they're coming from to a certain degree. He is extremely bombastic with his speech, and he does not hold back his personal and religious feelings, especially. He goes out just straight up and says, no, I'm a Christian and I will govern with Christianity at the forefront of it, and our laws will be dictated by Christ. Like he is. He's very much with that. Do what?
He's Black Preacher Trump.
Yes, 100%. I mean, his whole, you're just a made up, cut up man or woman. I mean, awesome. It was great. But I kind of see why the establishment would be very, very scared of backing him too much about, okay, what will the media do with this?
Isn't it just like, it's like we're in a bizarro world. You've got, because on the same day, you've got competing Trump with crowds cheering his name in New York while Biden is down celebrating abortion in Florida. It's just like bizarre, some of the things that are happening. And at what point are they going to send Biden back to the basement? And what's going to be the pretext for it?
Biden got booed in New York not too long ago. Again, Biden was out in New York and got booed.
But he's getting booed from the wacko Hamas crowd.
Yeah, but I mean, those are people who should be voting for him.
Yeah, I don't know. Would they vote at all? Do you think?
Oh, I think they vote. I definitely think they vote, 100%. Because I mean, the amount of posts I've seen them make of blue no matter who, because it could accelerate their vision, even if it's not who they exactly want. So I think a lot of them are accelerationists who think that the more they can screw up the country, the faster they can get to that communist, revolution. Because let's face it, that's how you get a communist revolution. A country has to be in a free fall for that to even begin to take place. And I think the people who are running a lot of that stuff, I think they know that. And then, of course, their minions down below, like that one woman we just saw, just goes along to get along because they just want to be part of the crowd.
Yeah, they'll be the first ones in the gulags.
Oh, I know, 100%. I mean, they are what the communists call the worthless eaters, right? It's not the plumbers. It's not the people in the countryside. It's that academia. Like that's the first thing down. Also, because they make sure they get rid of the people who helped bring about the revolution because they know how to bring about revolution. So now that you've established this new order, you need to stop any future revolution. And so they're the first ones who get sent out too.
So you're talking about bringing the country down. You saw the latest GDP.
Oh no, I did it.
I mean, at 1.6, with inflation still running hot, and so obvious we're right back into stagflation with the potential of a recession, and so it's just nasty. The all of the normal indicators that you would say, okay, this is a dependable indicator, they all point to something nasty.
Well, I mean, it's definitely not going to help, and I'll go ahead and pull this up so people don't think we're going crazy about this. But if this ad we get out of the way, Biden proposes the biggest capital gains tax in 100 years.
Stupid.
And that means a capital gains dividend up to 44.6%, which will make the tax rate exceed 50% in states like California, New Jersey, New York, and others. Do you want to explain why this is the most idiotic thing a country could do if they want to help boost their economy?
It's absolutely insane. It makes zero sense whatsoever. We know what causes inflation: government spending. It's the one thing that causes inflation. That's what does it. Government spending. They're printing money. They're causing inflation. It's not corporate. It's not capitalism. It's nothing. It's government spending. Before I get any further, Hurricanes win. Go Canes, 3-0. I can
North Carolina.
Cut that off. Can cut that off. I won't have to keep looking over my shoulder here. But so we know what causes inflation. So now we're going to get into the stagflation. People are going to be moving their money to other places because why would you keep money somewhere that's going to get just roasted? It's not going to affect it's only going to hurt rich people. Well, what about everybody? Everybody with a 401k, everybody that's getting ready to retire, that's going to need to take some of that out. Unless it's in the exact right tax sheltered plans, look out, you're going to get burned. It's dumb. Capital is going to flee, and it's going to just speed. At this point, it is going to lead to a deflationary cycle. And so we're going to go, it's going to fast track a recession.
I mean, the economy is in shambles, and the first thing you want to do is punish people, basically, for wanting to invest into the economy. I mean, because that's what it is, right? I mean, who's going to want to sit there and invest in your business when it's almost impossible for them to make a profit? I mean, the whole hopes we have is you give someone like 10 grand and you hope that thing turns not just to 15. No, you're hoping that thing turns to like 50 to 100, right? That's what you're hoping when you invest in someone's business like that, because the chances of a loss is pretty high. So it has to have a very high return possibility. So if you're going to sit there and take away that much from it, I mean, people are going to be a lot less likely to want to invest in any startups out there at all at this point.
Yeah, that was we all need Hillary's trader from back when they were running for president. It took her 10 grand to 100 grand in the futures market.
Yeah, I'm sure that there was no corruption there. Or, when it came to all the donations her nonprofits got right before, she ran for office, and then suddenly it all just disappeared. No more donations after that, Or what about, God, which bank was it? One of the large banks paying her millions of dollars for a 5-minute speech, I think. It was like 5-10-minute speech. Ridiculous.
As a public speaker, I can say that's a fair rate. That's about what I get when I go.
So if you want to hire him, now you know the cost. I'm sure he'll cut a deal.
I'll cut a deal. I'll do it for half of what she did.
Oh man, yeah. It's but I mean, is it that they're economically illiterate, or is it done on purpose though? Is the thing when it comes to Biden? Because I know some of them it's done on purpose.
He's not. Well, I mean, we keep saying it's done by Biden. He's not doing this. It's the probably 20 something year old bureaucrats that are running everything around him that's putting these things out there.
So you don't think he had almost anything to do with it? He just parrot reciting Shakespeare basically.
If he had anything at all
Poorly.
to do with any of these, if any of these were his ideas, would he be reading the narrative parts of his teleprompter speeches?
That's a good point. I mean, I guess we see what happens when he starts talking on his own, right? I mean, was it last week he was talking about how his uncle was eaten by cannibals? And then, of course, the United States, was it the Pentagon came out and went, that's not true.
and he has experience driving big rigs.
And he could have played in the NFL. He came so close to playing in the NFL, he said recently. Even though apparently he stopped playing football after his freshman year of college.
It's amazing to me that somebody who was forced out of the '88 presidential campaign for plagiarism and lying, that people are shocked that he's misspeaking now.
Well, you saw the White House's transcript for him reading his directions of 4 more years, pause. And the transcript for it says 4 more years inaudible because they don't want to let you know. And of course,
and there's only one major news outlet that's going to tell you what he said, and good luck finding it anywhere else if you're not on X.
What, Fox News?
Yeah, because they played it over and over again. But the only other place you see it is the smaller ones like Newsmax or whatever, and then so unless you're on X, you don't see most stuff.
So what's been actually kind of funny, and this will lead into I think the next story I have here too. People have been taking all of his like publicity photos he's been doing and running it through a software that detects whether or not a image is AI generated or not, or has AI has been touching it up or not. And almost all of them have been coming out like 80-90% AI has had something to do with it, which makes sense because there's also a lot of like AIs that can make it so your smile appears brighter, your eyes are more open. There's AIs out there that I could run right now where if I look over here, my eyes will still stay on camera, so that way you can read a script and still look like you're looking at the camera. Crazy technology out there. But like almost all of them, it's just people posting like, oh, looks like it's fake, looks like it's fake, looks like it's fake. And don't get me wrong, those softwares that check for that sort of stuff, they're really hit and miss, to be perfectly honest. I think if you even touch up like a little bit of Photoshop, it instantly says AI image. So I'm not saying it's 100% accurate, but it is kind of funny because we talk about being basically the fake president. But it's like he's had moments where he was on sound stages during COVID. Like full fake White House stages.
Yeah.
It's so weird to see how all of this is just kind of progressing, basically. And at what point, I really wonder, at what point do we just start having AIs fixing his speech before they do like addresses, to the nation or anything like that? Because, right now he does a speech that's like addressing the nation, and it's like, I, Joe Biden, cut. I think we should be doing X, Y, and Z, cut. Because this is the right thing that we need to do for his country, cut. And it's just micro cuts the whole entire speech. It's nuts.
Yeah, yep. I think the most bizarre to me was that White House set. That made no sense whatsoever.
That was so weird. And it's like we all just forgot about it. Like they got rid of it eventually, but it had like TV screens in the windows to replicate outside of the White House. It was, I don't know why. The White House is secure. I guess you control.
Just for the record, I'm using the reverse version of that AI. I'm actually just stunning, but I don't want to overshadow you on your own show, so I'm using the reverse of the Biden AI here.
Now, what you don't realize is, you're just like big rip dude. That's why you're wearing the sweater, right? To hide just how in shape you are.
I gotta hide it.
Hey, you can pump out some pull-ups still. You're still good.
My arm on an ice bag from overworking it over the weekend, barbecuing.
Not barbecuing. That might be the most dad thing you could say. Oh, I'm icing my arm because I heard it while barbecuing.
I don't
For
know,
a
dude.
church
Over 3
event, no,
days-
of all things.
Over 3 days, I put in over 50 hours over 3 days. It was not just going out and cooking some hot dogs like the Northerners call barbecue.
Yeah, it was with actual smoke, like the barbacoa Indians did, right? we know our barbecue history. So, I mentioned AI there. It's mostly because I really wanted to kind of go to the story because obviously, I've been wondering, when does AI start getting used in kind of some messed up ways? I don't know if you've heard about this yet, but a black athletic director of Baltimore High School arrested for creating an AI deepfake of white principal to stage a race hoax.
I did not.
So,
see this.
You haven't seen this? Okay, I haven't read through the entire thing because I only just saw it kind of right before we were about to be starting here soon, but I wanted to throw this in. So, a Maryland school athletic director was arrested at the BWI Marshall Airport after it was discovered that he had allegedly spread AI-generated impersonation of the Pikesville High School principal that framed the principal as being racist or being a racist. Dazan Darren, 31, is looking at many charges due to deepfake, including stalking, theft, disruption of school operations, and retaliation against a witness. So, I believe the case was that he was, I think he was actually being fired for something else or getting in trouble for something else. And so he made a deepfake. You can find the video of it, but I can't really play it because obviously it has a lot of messed up words in it that YouTube will get in trouble with. And it doesn't sound too bad, actually, of a deepfake. In fact, actually, they have a segment here I don't think says anything too bad. So let me, fingers crossed.
You won't believe how old she is.
Excuse me?
I mean, that's crazy
I
AI
really
talk,
quick.
right? Okay,
What?
let's wait for
Is
that to end
workout?
here.
You know, I seriously don't understand why I have to constantly put up with these dumbasses here every day. Between these ungrateful black kids who can't test their way out of a paper bag, or these teachers who don't get it, how hard is it to get these students to meet their grade level expectations?
So, I mean, if you know it's AI, you can tell, right? Like the kind of cadence of which he's speaking. But that's not bad, right?
No. It sounds like a hidden microphone or a hot mic that you would hear anywhere.
And here's the thing, because of that, it's okay that it sounds also a little off because you can chalk it out to the fact of, oh, well, it's being recorded by, like someone's phone in their pocket or something like that.
So how did they determine? How did they prove? Or I mean, how even do you get caught with this?
So the police said they have conclusive evidence that Darren was the one who made the recordings as he was trying to retaliate. Let's see. So the principal told the officers he thought the deepfake was Darren's work. So yeah, I don't think it shows exactly how they found out it is. I won't be surprised if he somehow admitted it. You know how a lot of these people are. They always want to take, they always want to gloat about what they're getting away with half the time.
Yeah, or left an audit trail on the technology that he used.
Possibly. Or, I mean, for all we know, it could have been like the school's computer. Now, I mean, here's the thing. You can listen to it, and if you know deep fakes, then you can tell that it's a deep fake, is the thing. Like, if you've worked with deep fakes before, and I've like messed around with stuff like 11 Labs, where you can put in 30 seconds of someone's voice, and and you can type whatever you want to type. And even better yet, if you're good at impersonating the cadence of which they speak, you can say it yourself, and then the AI would dub over it with that person's voice. So you can actually fix a lot of those issues. And so that's one thing that also scares me, is the fact of he obviously had recordings of the guy's voice. If he was smart, he could have made that a lot more convincing than he did. Because you can tell by the way it breaks up and by the way it suddenly speeds up when he suddenly says, and all these black kids, they can't test their way out of a paper bag. Like, just the way it speaks, it just doesn't sound right.
See, I wouldn't have caught that. I don't think I would have assumed imperfection,
and that's
because of a weird mic.
And that's 100% understandable, because again, if you showed that to almost any random person, they would assume that's a real thing. They would not have assumed it had anything to do with AI. The only people who were able to really instantly tell it's AI are people who mess around with AI enough to understand the problems with AI and how it still has issues. Because like I hear that no problem because I've messed with AIs quite a bit because it's just kind of enjoyable to see what they can do. The question is,
so what are we going to do when they get it perfected?
So I think Tim Pool made a good point actually, where he talked about the biggest threat with AI isn't doing stuff like this. It's where you change one or two words of an existing speech, because that will be almost impossible to detect. And everyone who saw that speech live would just assume they must have misheard and that this is the real version actually. So I think the example he gave was the whole Charlottesville speech where, he says, except for, the, white supremacists and all of them, they should be condemned totally. And you can just change a couple words there and it totally changed the, what he meant by that. And it wouldn't be hard to do.
The scariest thing about that is he absolutely said that, and it got memory hold, and they still say he didn't say it.
I know.
So they didn't even need AI to get away with that hoax.
So, and there was also a crazy thing that happened. So Netflix did a whole crime documentary, and they got caught when they were saying, this person, they were going through this sort of stuff before they carried out the attack or whatever. The image they used of the person was an AI image of them like smiling with their friends. Like, that's creepy that in a documentary about someone, you're creating fake images of them and putting them out there as if they're real. I mean, how fast can that go awry?
Well, and did you see Shatner was getting roasted because they were saying he used AI for his new album cover, and he was trying to defend the artist that put it together, but he was getting roasted on social.
Well, so have you seen some of the stuff that could be done with the AI music stuff now? The new music AI?
Yeah.
So I thought you would like this. So Louis, why this just shows you how quick this can be done. While we were getting set up for this stream, while you already had, Zoom and everything pulled up, I went ahead and made something. And it's all based with AI. Okay? So they have this new AI called Udio. Or I guess technically it's a beta now. So we were both fans of the book series Red Rising, right? Really good book series. So I asked ChatGPT to write lyrics to a song about the first book. Spit it out like that, no problems whatsoever. I then put it in here with just the titles of sci-fi, Irish, Celtic. I put Hans Zimmer, and it auto replaces Hans Zimmer with things that are kind of similar to Hans Zimmer because it can't directly take from artists. And really, in the time that we've just been recording and everything like that, it's already produced this right here. And just listen to how good of quality this is for something that was produced in less than 5-10 minutes.
In the depths of Mars where shadows reign, a miner toils his heart in pain. Darrow dreams of skies aflame, yearning for a life not the same. Rise, rise from the depths below, to the stars where dreams aglow. With fire in our hearts we'll break the chains, and forge a future where hope remains.
I mean, and that's just like 10 minutes of just messing around. I mean, it got up. You're muted or something. I think you muted yourself.
Yeah, I was messing with my ice bag and I didn't want it to rattle too much, but that is absolutely amazing.
There's a full minute of this, and you can extend it. You can sit there and remix it, and so like I was able to include like kind of an Irish. I know I include like an Irish sound to it as well because it's kind of an Irish theming for the Reds and the Mines and all that stuff. And it again, ChatGPT in just 2 seconds created like lyrics for an entire song, and all I had to do was plug them into this with a couple tags, and you can see, or you can just add. You can make it. You can set it as an outro, so we'll end the song and something. You can add the effects of what you want to add there. You can change which instruments, or just let it auto generate. So if you just want to say a song about using the bathroom and hit auto generate, it will auto generate lyrics to a song about that. And it's just crazy. And again,
what's this one called?
Udio. And it's right now it's free. This is not an ad spot or anything, but I love it. It's so much fun. It's completely free, and it's you get like I forget how many it says right here, up to 1,200 songs a month right now. And
Good Lord.
I know. It does it by 30-second segments.
When you first started talking about it, I thought you were going to do like album art album art, not the actual lyrics to a brand new song.
Isn't that amazing? And like, so you see all this stuff.
Does this mean that like we can, instead of looking for the rights to songs that we like, we can just get it to create songs similar to an artist? And
so you gotta show DJ this.
Yeah.
Because I know you get dinged every now and again for one of the songs y'all play.
Yeah.
But I mean, here's, you say that too. There's other things you can do. So I'll type in hurt. And it should, oh, no, I accidentally created a song. Oh, dang. Not what I meant to do. Okay. Hurt. So I made like a remix.
1,000 left. You only got 1,000 left for the month.
So I made like a remix of Johnny Cash's Hurt. I guess it's 9 Inch Nails, obviously, but let's face it, Johnny Cash's version is the best. But it's like a techno version.
I hurt myself today to see if I still feel. I focus on the pain, the only thing that's real. I'm still right here. What have I become?
It's nuts, right?
What did you tell it to mix it with?
I didn't do it. So that one I didn't do, but you can actually click it and actually see what they did. So what they did is they put the lyrics in for it all. And the prompt they did was pop rap, male vocalist, pop rap, dance pop. And so you can see all that. And then if you want to change it, you can hit remix and change the style completely and it will still reformat it again. And this is what someone else had already created though. Or you can extend it and make it longer if you want to. So I have a series of ones that I've kind of liked here. It's just some funny ones like F.U. Elmo or, oh, this is.
Yeah. Well, I'm a good old boy from the Peach State. Rode my pickup truck to the Golden Gate. Them rainbow flags gave me a fright, but I figured I'd stay for a night. Woke up in the morning feeling kind of queer. Must have been something in that San Fran beer. My Wranglers got tight and my voice got high. That city done turned me gay, oh my.
And like, so do you remember the thing they played on like the Tony McCready show, like the old Stag Party songs and stuff like that? So someone made like a bunch of those in that exact same style, and so you can see the name of that right there. I'm not gonna say it too much, but it's a bunch of like inappropriate songs in the same exact fashion too as that person, which was hysterical. So this is AI now.
So this started with somebody trying to get someone else fired and pretty much shunned from all of society.
So that's the thing. It's going to create a lot of pain, but it's also going to create a lot of funny stuff like this. I mean, just it's again the whole Red Rising thing I created within like 10 minutes. So obviously there's some implications about the fact that what is this going to do for art? What is this going to do for? I understand that. I understand it completely. With that said,
shoot, it's better than most new music I've heard.
That is true.
It's by real artists.
But that's a scary thing, right? So as much as stuff like this is so cool, and so people are going to love AI because let's face it, the people who are really going to be upset at stuff like this music thing here are not the masses, right? They're the people who are really artsy and really into the music and want to create some of their own, yet haven't broke through yet. Those are the people going to be the most upset about it. And I think they're somewhat valid with some of their complaints about it. But for the most part, people are going to love crap like this, right? Like they're going to love just messing around with AIs like this. And at the same time, though, you're going to have cases like this one where people are going to use it for some really messed up things. And right now, if you notice when it said, what this person is going to be charged with. Here we go. Where was it? Because it didn't say, you notice it was kind of like spread around, right? So including stalking, theft, disruption of school operations, and retaliation against a witness. We don't have laws against this yet. We don't have laws about creating deep fake imagery. We don't have laws about creating, defamation using AI. Defamation for most cases, I mean, it's not, I think it's a bad crime, but it's not, but so serious, right? Unless you're a massive corporation, defamation, when it comes to individual, it's usually a slap on the wrist.
There's no reason that defamation should be on that list of things that they're being charged for, though.
Well, shouldn't defamation also count because you're trying to defame a person's image using dishonest means?
Yeah, if that thing would have gone, this principal would have, he never could have worked again anywhere.
Yeah. So my thing is, though, defamation, when it comes to issues like this, normally if he just went out and said it, didn't create an AI for it, but just said that's what was happening, it would be a slap on the wrist punishment in most cases. But with AI, like, we need new laws. I have never thought, again, more little L libertarian over here, I never thought I'll be saying we need more laws, but we do need more laws when it comes to AI. At least when it comes to misuses like this. Not saying you should make it against the law for people to, you like maybe mess around with voices and stuff like that. But when it's used to defame someone, man, we gotta do like some serious punishments for it to try to deter it, because there's no putting this genie back in the bottle, right? Pandora's box is open. Yeah. It is fully open. So I don't know how on earth you ever close it again.
No, you don't. It's you learn to live with it and manage it, and man, I'll never say make new laws. Find ways to use our current laws to regulate it.
I think this is something so new. It's almost like the invention of the internet. There's got to be. Frankly, it could be actually even more harmful to society than the invention of the internet when you really look at it, I think.
So I was looking at, Alphabet was releasing their numbers, and the market was tanking today because of the GDP numbers and other stuff that was going on. But the discussion got started. So with AI going where it's going with conversational AI, what does it mean for search? Because that's where Alphabet's, and that's still their bread and butter is search. But why do I need search?
Very scary, I think, at least. Because you're going to ask an AI, hey, I'm looking for something like this, and it's just going to pull up what it thinks you want. But who knows what's trying to leave out, right? Like we saw Google when it came to erasing any white people in their imagery, right? Like where it's, it asked for founding father pictures and it would show a bunch of black people as the founding fathers.
That wasn't Google.
Are you sure it wasn't Google?
I didn't think
that was Google.
Was
I'm about positive that was Google.
Okay. I'm misremembering then.
Yeah, it was Google. It was Google.
What's their AI called?
Gemini.
Yeah. Okay.
Yep.
I was about to blame Microsoft's AI for that one, so my memory is.
Microsoft AI is still terrible too, but I mean come on, Bing. Let's be real. They haven't been on the top of their A game here. But no, I think the AI search is coming, and it's already basically there, right? An algorithmic search is sort of like how current AIs operate at the moment. So, I mean, it's not entirely not already here, right? We already kind of have the issues with it with the current search engine.
Yeah, I was at a baseball game with some guys, and it's all business guys, and we're asking questions and doing things that guys do. You know how who had this statistic, how many people hit this versus that, and you're kind of going through some of those things, and it's the things that you used to with Google, and everybody in the group was Chat GPT and the same questions that we used to.
Really?
Yeah.
That's great. I haven't seen people like just outdoors like using Chat GPT.
Yeah, and I don't know if it's because it was one of the things we had talked about in sessions that day, and everybody just wanted to check it out. But the information we were getting answers that we were looking for without going to Chrome or anywhere else.
For the most part, again, I've used AI for research purposes before. I prefer Perplexity because it gives me citations of everything it's got, and so that way I can double check on it. Because sometimes, especially when I'm doing like videos for like video game reviews and such, I'll pull up information with GPT and stuff like that, and it'll pull up like fan fiction of the characters, and so it'll say this person did this, this, and this, even though that's not actually what they've done. It's just what someone wrote on a blog somewhere. So. Right. Like Perplexity giving me citations works better for that. But I mean, I do use AI to kind of double check some of my stuff. And
so when you put in, let's go back to the music. When you put in the information you did you have to say anything about the book for it to write lyrics that went along with it? Or
for ChatGPT, all I put in was give me a synopsis of Red Rising Book 1, and then it gave me the synopsis. I said turn into a musical. That's it, and it gave me lyrics. And so then when I went to Udio, I added the kind of what I wanted: sci-fi, Irish Celtic score, movie soundtrack. I was thinking originally like some like type of chants or chants in the deep or something like that. It didn't really add that, and put Hans Zimmer because I knew it would because again it can't directly copy artist, but it knows Hans Zimmer's styling, so it will then take all of those keywords and put it in, and then I just put the lyrics in there at that moment. So
for some of the later books for those epic space battles, you got to go a little John Williams theme.
So like I can take like the next lyric right here. Let's see. I'll take like the ending lyrics it gave me, and all I have to do is copy, paste them in, and see again. This was the lyrics were created by ChatGPT, so some of it's off because of that. So you kind of have to kind of go through it, the kind of, maybe fix it up a bit. But then all you do is actually this is extending it because it's what I was already working on. So I'll hit extend and set it as an outro instead. And it will create two versions to see which one you like best too. So it creates two at the same time. So it's pretty crazy. And see, it's already now building it. And saying, see, artist replaced Hans Zimmer with film score, orchestra, epic music, classical music. And give it like about maybe a minute, 2 minutes, and it will go ahead and set it up. So I went ahead and I was playing around with some of the stuff and telling it to do, I didn't mean to pull up Discord.
Is there an app you don't have loaded in some way, form, or fashion?
Okay, so see how fast it created it? And now I can click on it.
In the depths of Mars where shadows we need, hope remains. Rise when the guns below, to the stars where dreams are known. With fire in our hearts we'll break the chains and forge a future where hope remains.
And see, it will create two versions too. So I can then click this one and...
Rise, rise with one day to load. Through this darkness we'll break the mold. With fire in our hearts we'll break the chains and forge a future where hope remains.
And so it'd be slightly different versions of it. And when you first create a song, it'll create like totally different versions of it. I'm not sure if I still have my original creation that I put with it. I might have actually...
I could see Lyria singing that.
Yeah, right? And so here's the thing that you could do. You could take the song she sings, plug it in there with this similar stuff, and put like female vocalist, and it probably would create something pretty interesting. So you could take songs from books, which...
Or EO's song, you could put that out.
Yes, exactly, yeah. And like, or even better, like, go through the Game of Thrones books, because they have a lot of songs in there. And it'll be kind of interesting to see if you just plug them in as well. Or Lord of the Rings, because actually Lord of the Rings has a lot of segments where Frodo is actually singing songs with everyone because he's a big storyteller like Bilbo was and everything. So there's a lot of things you can do with it. And like I've sat there and I've gone through like I tried it first by doing like a video game synopsis of like Halo 1's first level and did some stuff with that. And
must arrange his size, burdened by the weight. Cortana's wisdom, their only gate. The crew springs to action, with purpose they strive, preparing for battle to keep hope alive.
So it's you can do all
Broadway.
sorts of crazy stuff with it. I took Smooth as Tennessee Whiskey and added like some like kind of classic rock tags.
Used to spend my nights out in a barroom. Liquor was the only love I'd known. But you rescued me from reaching for the bottom and brought me back from being too far gone. You're as smooth as Tennessee whiskey. You're sweet.
So I mean, the stuff you can do with it is nuts. And like when you go to this like whole Discover thing here and see like all the stuff people created, Dune. So like Dune's really big. Dune the musical, everybody. Here you go.
Atreides of Arrakeen, the greatest leader we've ever seen. They say that he's the listen Al-Gaib. Eyes bright blue and hair jet black. You should see him ride on a sandworm's back. Lead us to victory, Yusuf Muad'Dib.
This is what the word like again. All the bad stuff AI is gonna do. This is at least fun.
I still haven't seen the second Dune. The first one was fantastic. The last hour of it.
With all the like sci-fi stuff I like, I really should read the books at some point, and I still never have. We're gonna have to get it on Audible or something.
Well, I got some credits hanging out there, so probably make that happen. They need to do the Audible dramatic narrations like they've done for Red Rising.
Oh man, those ones are so good. I'm waiting for the last one. The last one for the third book, at least. Oh, it should be. I think they said next month. They've been so good. They aren't kidding when they say it's like a movie in your mind or whatever their slogan is. Like, it is amazing.
Yeah.
So you've actually checked them out.
Yeah, I went through the first book.
Yeah, different voice actors for everything. Excellent. But here's another thing.
And the direction and the backing music and the voice actors are all. I thought they were fantastic.
It really like graphic audio. Like they don't have a ton of stuff on there, but I kind of want to check out the other stuff just because of how good the Red Rising books were.
Yeah, there was they did a version of Huck Finn that way that was pretty good too. That I think's probably still in the library.
Ah, cool.
It's kind of jarring to hear the N word spoken out loud that many times with the hard R. It's just it's a little unsettling when you listen to it.
I don't know. I guess I've watched enough Blazing Saddles, so I don't think I'll mind.
Well, but it's in a whole different context. So it's just different.
Oh,
but that so I finally, it took a long time, but I finally got through and finished the Grant biography. So I enjoyed it. It was overly I think it was overly kind to Grant because I mean there's a lot of scandal in his 2 terms as president, and it just kind of glosses over the scandal. And even in Trump's Supreme Court trial today, they were referencing Grant sending the fake electors to the states to make sure that the Republican got elected president. And so there's a precedent for having an alternate set of electors and all that sort of thing. But I mean, those things are scandalous, and the Grant bank that bellied up. I mean, just so many scandals, and this guy's just glossing over it.
Well, I remember when I had to do
and he'll tell the stories. He'll tell the stories of the battles where it's just butchery, nothing but pure butchery. And he'll say, and Grant was accused of just being a butcher instead of having great, great ideas as a general and great plans as a general. They're so unfounded, and everything he just described was pure butchery.
It's like the political fact checks where it's like, well, it is true that Trump did do X, Y, and Z. He didn't do it on Saturday, so we're going to say it was a lie, where it's like, they just find some way to sit there and still say it's not true.
Yeah, it's like he went out of his way, and I love Chernow. I think his books are fabulous, and I think this one was too. Overall, I think it was really good. But it seemed like to me he went out of his way to make excuses for Grant.
Well, I mean, I swear, you go online and you see the people who like will sit there and just go crazy over like how much they love Sherman, and it's like, do you realize how awful of a person that was? Like, I get you don't like the Confederacy, I understand that, but I'll be honest. If I had to have the ire of one side, I would rather have the ire of the Confederacy over the ire of Sherman. I mean, that dude was a monster.
He's an interesting character, and I kind of wish when we would go to war now, we would take a total war stance and just go win it and come home.
I mean, it worked. I'll give him that.
Instead of the crap we do.
But listen, I don't fault the Union one bit for trying to keep the Confederacy in the Union. It makes complete sense why a country will want to sit there and stay together and not let anyone secede from it. But you can't have the moral high ground with Sherman. I'm sorry, you just can't.
He had an interesting post-war career too. He was kind of backstabbing his buddy Grant every once in a while. That was
well, from what I understand, he did not like Grant.
Little twist.
If I remember correctly,
he liked him. He liked him. You can tell from the letters and the actual words that he liked him. But he didn't see him as being the end all be all. He didn't really want him to be president. And there were some things like that. But he loved him as a friend and a general.
Is there any new? Like, did he ever write about what he thought about like people like General Lee? Because I know Lee was greatly respected by most of the North before the war, obviously, but.
Yeah, that kind of irked him because Lee was seen as the great tactician, and his troops absolutely loved him, and Grant did go out of his way to make sure that at Appomattox that they were able to walk away with their heads up and at least a gun to go back home with to you know what the Second Amendment lets us do, shoot squirrels or whatever, and so they were able to keep their honor. But then he also fought for them to not be tried for treason and things like that as before he became president and after president. But he was very, very jealous of how, and he didn't appreciate the kind of the rewriting of history with, because it was kind of during that post-war time in the Reconstruction that the idyllic version of what the South had been starts to come about. And so it was a little bit of a rewriting, whitewashing of some of the history that had gone on, and he didn't appreciate that. But there was I think a mutual respect between the two.
But I don't know how you can't with Lee. I mean, let's face it, he was the most brilliant tactician of the war. It's just he was on the wrong side of it.
I mean, if one of his men hadn't have left the plans for Antietam where the North found it and knew where he was going to be when he was going to be there, the whole war could have been completely different.
Not to mention, wasn't the Confederacy the first ones to build the submarine too over in North Carolina?
The Albemarle was one of the first ones that was built, but both sides were building that, and they obviously had the industrial edge, so they were going to win. The North was going to win on that side anyway. And
when Sherman went through and burnt down all the farms.
I don't mean to they this thing, but I am sitting in the South, so that's why I'm using that language. Mr. Google.
You know what I love though? So we can talk about stuff like this and talk about it reasonably in the sense of like, yeah, the South were bad about this, the North did this, and like, oh, this was actually a pretty good tactic here, this was pretty bad tactic here. And we can sit there and not be like, getting our blood pressure up over talking about the Civil War. Yeah, right now, there's a lot of people out there who, man, they go nuts when it's brought up. Like, they just want to sit there and like, it's like it just happened yesterday.
Yeah, well,
and I mean,
I tell you what, there's good and bad. Obviously, let's go with the Trump and Biden said there's good people on both sides of this Hamas issue, but there's obviously good and bad, and I think that the bad parts of the South were terrible, but the bad parts of the North weren't a whole lot better. The racism in the North was pretty rampant as well.
Not to mention, Sherman still took slaves while he was doing his march. He didn't care about freeing slaves. He still took plenty of slaves and killed off a lot of them when he didn't need them anymore. Like, it was nuts. When you look at some of the things he did.
There have been a couple of good things that have been on late night TV here lately about some of the battles. And then there was a good one on Little Bighorn, because Custer was a Union cavalryman in the war, and then met his demise at Little Bighorn. Um, so much that's just a fascinating period of history from the Revolution, little pre-Revolution through.
Well,
the turn
and
of
also
the
one of the
20th
craziest
century.
things about the Civil War to
Very
me,
interesting.
and it's weird that we've gone from AI to now Civil War. I don't know how these things could be further apart, but one of the craziest things about the Civil War to me is the fact that obviously during the war, almost every country in Europe sent people over to watch how it was taking place because they wanted to see kind of what more modern warfare would look like. And what they came back and told them was the future of warfare is trench warfare. It is trench warfare, and we need to prepare for it. This is what we saw. And all the countries through Europe said, that is nuts. That's crazy. There's no way people are being slaughtered in these kind of numbers. It can't be done. Clearly, you did not see this correctly. And it wasn't too long after, when you look at just kind of grand scheme of things, obviously it's a good amount, but not too long after when World War I started. And at first they ignored those people and they charged right into machine gun fire and got slaughtered. And what do you know? It turned out that really the Civil War was the prototype of what World War I would be like. Just trench warfare, and it just got brought to a higher extreme when it came to World War I.
So your great granddad he was gassed in one of those trenches in France, and
Yeah.
never was the same. Never able to work the farm the same afterwards. So they not only learned about the trenches, they added some really deadly, even more deadly means of using them.
It was just me, or was it kind of crazy hearing Biden talk about the fact that his uncle piloted a propeller plane for the military? Just put in perspective how old that man is. He was born, was it? World War II was still going on when he was born, I think, right? He was born in the
And
40s?
The lesson there, if you're going to be flying prop planes, don't go over don't go over the cannibal lands.
So earlier you mentioned Grant, you mentioned the whole electors thing, which is what Trump's being, they're trying to try him for all this stuff.
That's
so I'm not
kinda
sure if
what
you
led
saw
us down
this.
road.
Yep, I'm not sure if you saw this yet, but in Arizona, they have 11 Republican alternate electors, 7 Trump's attorneys and aides indicted by the Arizona grand jury over the 2020 election. So we have more lawfare happening where they're going after, of course, the alternate electors, attorneys for Trump. And that's a scary one right there. We're talking the attorneys. If you're representing someone who they think is guilty, they're going to hold you accountable for it as well, which is insane.
Well,
And of course, happening in Arizona,
how about
where we
Trump? How
know
about
some
Trump
things were
himself?
happening for the Carrier Lake election, where we know ballots were not printed at the proper sizes and things like that. And of course, the person she was running against was the person who was also overseeing the election, which is kind of nuts there.
So what kind of precedent are we going to set that if you're Trump and you listen to your attorneys who said this is a total legal tactic that we can take, and so you take it, and then you get arrested for following the legal counsel?
So what's been really funny is the fact checks over the alternate electors, because they, of course, pointed out back during the Nixon-Kennedy election, Kennedy had alternate electors come in from Hawaii saying that they didn't believe the election in Hawaii was done fairly. So they went and did, their alternate electors for Kennedy. And it's funny, these fact checkers, all of them admit, every last one of them admit, that everything that the Republican electors did is in line of what happened with Kennedy. Except, and here's where they say it's not the same. They said they went back and audited the Hawaii election and found that Kennedy did win, making those electors justified. Well, the Arizona election wasn't audited. So their argument is there was voter fraud, or at least there was something going on in Hawaii during the Nixon and Kennedy election that resulted in a miscount of the ballots. Therefore, they were justified in being alternate electors. Wasn't that what Trump is arguing? That something went wrong in these states?
Until 2020, I would have said that was the most corrupt election in U.S. history.
What Nixon versus Kennedy?
Yeah, 60. Joe Kennedy said, "I'm not going to buy one more vote than we need. Damn if I'm paying for a landslide." And then they bought a lot of votes.
I mean, with all the ties the Kennedys had, that would really not surprise me. I mean, I don't know enough about the 1960 election, so I really can't say much, I guess. Like, all I know about 1960 election is the fact that everyone who watched the debates on television said Kennedy won, and everyone who listened to it on the radio said Nixon won, which was like the precedent for like how you're supposed to appear in front of the public.
Yeah,
which I feel like we're now saying that new president with
sweaty.
the online.
Sweaty Nixon was not a good look on black and white TVs.
So now that I'm saying it out loud, that really is kind of what's happening now with online with the older style politicians, where they're getting caught changing their accents for crowds, like Hillary Clinton did, countless times at this point. And people who are more authentic, of course, are getting ahead. So we're kind of seeing the same thing happen today now with the internet, with everything now being digitalized. But Arizona, do what?
Because I said it doesn't always work the way it should, though, because the absolute best candidate for president got shunned because he was awkward on the internet.
Okay, you're wearing lifts, man. Like, no, it wasn't because. It was because he listened to an idiot campaign staff who told him not to be himself. When he's himself in Florida, he's great. He's so good. His speeches are excellent. And then he goes out there and he tries to be a whole different person for some reason. Just, I don't get it.
I'm not getting over it. He better run in 28.
I'll vote for him if he runs in 28. I will 100% vote for him if he runs in 28.
Or either Florida better change their rules and let him just stay there as governor forever, because when he's gone, we're going to lose Florida.
So the majority of the article basically just covers exactly what's up there. Obviously, the grand jury, of course, indicting these people.
It was Giuliani again, and
yep. So I think actually at the bottom it has all the names. Let's see. Yep, here we go. So Kerry Ward, Tyler Bauer. Yeah, so it goes through all of them here, and I know Giuliani was on there. All these dang ads. Yeah, Giuliani.
Mark Meadows was the other, and Jenna Ellis. She's been named a couple of times. And
yeah, but it's funny seeing her get caught up in all this after she tried to distance herself from Trump and try to stab him in the back. So no one's coming to her defense.
She flipped on him once.
Do what?
I said that's what I'd said after she flipped on him the once. Because she changed her tune, but Meadows is an interesting one to be on there. So Charlie Kirk posted right here, polls show Trump up 5 in Arizona. A few hours later, bunch of indictments against him. And again, it's all obviously one-sided. But the crazy is, this isn't all that's happening in Arizona. So Arizona's been having a lot of issues. So recently, before you get off this, at what point are Republican attorney generals just going to start fighting fire with fire?
Oh, I know, right? Like that's it's a game of lawfare, right? And we are not playing. We're not playing. And I don't know why. Why every attorney general that's a Republican should be going after every Democrat they could find for anything they can get on them for. Why are they not right now trying to hold Biden accountable for any of the things he's done? Where's just anything? I don't care if he jaywalked. Get him for something. I mean, they're making crap up for Trump. You're telling me Biden hasn't sold a single bit of property in the past 20 or so years? You can't find a single property he's sold and say, well, the tax assessed value of it's under what you sold it for, therefore you defrauded the person you sold it for. Why is that not happening? The judge in the case of Trump sold property for that.
Yeah. In that one, there was absolutely no crime committed. No one hurt. Everyone was made whole. And the court case that's going on now, there's no crime in having an NDA signed. It's complete BS. The statute of limitations have been changed on things to make sure that they could get him. So,
and again, you're telling me Biden's not had anyone sign an NDA?
They're not only playing a game that we're not playing, they're changing the rules of the game as they go so that they can do what they need to do. And we just sit back and take it.
Yeah, and the thing is obviously you have cases where you had the case in New York where a lawyer firebombed a cop car and got probation, right? Firebombing a cop car and got probation. Meanwhile, a bunch of old people went and protested an abortion clinic and they're looking at 11 years in jail.
Or you just take a stroll through the Capitol building after the police open the door for you and you go to prison.
Meanwhile, they set fire to guard towers, having the people have to be escorted to the presidential bunker under the White House during the Black Lives Matter riots there. And not only do they let go everyone who they arrested with no charges, they then paid Black Lives Matter millions of dollars saying, "Oh, we violated your civil liberties by arresting you, so here you go." So that's taxpayer dollars going to them.
That's all right. That's all right though, because I mean, who else was going to buy those big mansions that the BLM leaders bought?
It's just
as they embezzled the money that was given in good faith by people who thought they were giving it to a good cause.
What I still don't know is there a way to hold these judges accountable? I mean, I feel like it's a clear breach of duty, right? Like it's clearly political motivated.
Call me a broken record, but there's a way in Florida because there's one governor that's let them go. That's taking them off the bench.
Which was great to see. And why Florida isn't having all this crap happening over there right now. No one's blocking roads in Florida because they legalized you running them down. I mean, and the cops pull them off instantly. And I mean,
I do find joy in the videos where people get out of their cars and go just rip the people that are sitting on the pavement and just throw them off to the side. I'd love to see them. I'd love to see them bashed bad enough that they couldn't get up and get back in their spot again. But you take what you can get.
I know it's a staged video, but it's still really funny. And what should happen is there's like protesters sitting on the road, and the guy backs up his like Mustang to it and just revs up the engine right in their face. Like, I mean, come on, there's a lot of fun ways you can get them out of your way. And here's the thing: if they're going to sit there and do that sort of stuff, then again, I still say that's holding people hostage. Is the reality of it. So yeah, people should be allowed to do whatever it takes to not be held hostage by people who are trying to hold you there by force. And it is by force. You don't really have much of an option. So it's good to see, of course, places like Florida. And what amazes me is more Republicans have followed suit, right? Like we see that this stuff isn't right now happening so much in Florida, yet most areas that are run by Republicans have not followed along with it, which is nuts.
Republicans do nothing in lockstep. We won't stop fighting each other long enough to get into a groove where we can all work together.
Unless it's passing billions of dollars of funding to Ukraine and Israel, of course.
No,
in which case,
that's the thing. That's the thing. There were still 100 good guys that fought the good fight. It's just there's enough bad ones still around that.
Well, no, in the Senate it was like 17 good guys, right? Like. I mean, it's. I know we went on earlier on saying, of course, how much we can't stand these Hamas protesters, and of course we agree with Israel when it comes to what they're doing over there. I still don't want to fund them. All right, I'm sorry, I still don't want to give them any of our money when we can't even secure our own dang border.
Basically, every 2 weeks we're adding $1 trillion to the debt.
How do we? Again, I've said before. I'll say it again, we are a failed nation at this point. We are a failed nation. Now, we can recover, but at this point, we are a failed nation. If you looked at any family who is $1 million in debt, you would say, wow, they have failed financially. They have failed financially. Yet when we look at our own country, see $30 trillion in debt, we sit there and try to act like we are actually still top dog. No, we are not. We're standing on top of the hill because no one's pushed us over yet. That's the reality of the situation. Yeah, we still have a strong military. Yeah, we can still hold on to a lot of areas of the world through force. But that can only be kept for so long. Eventually, the cards topple. Eventually, if you do not have a strong economy, everything comes collapsing down, and we do not have. Again, we are not financially sound. It will collapse.
I was missing a zero. I was thinking 10 days. It's every 100 days we add $1 trillion to the debt.
He said 10.
So
I was thinking like
every 3 months. Yeah, it's late, man. You know, once it gets late, my ability to math goes away.
Well, we'll just cut through a little bit here with what Arizona's doing too, because it's not just stopping here with Arizona, with what doing to electors here. Arizona's also, again, elections have consequences. Katie Hobbs vetoing an anti-squatter bill. So you've seen all the videos of squatters, of course, taking property. You have illegal immigrants making TikToks telling other illegals how to take homes from people. And Katie Hobbs vetoes the anti-squatter bill in Arizona. Down here, though, at the very bottom, it talks about some of the other ones that she's vetoed. She vetoed a bill on Tuesday. Oh, yeah. She's vetoed bills that would define what male and female is into law. She also vetoed bills that require enhanced sentences for those convicted of multiple instances of organized retail theft. They also vetoed a bill that would authorize police to arrest illegal immigrants. So being extremely light on crime with all this stuff, while at the same time, what's happening, we just had to go through a whole trial over a case where a rancher defended his property from illegal immigrants. And it was just a mistrial, which means they can still bring charges at a later date. They can still try again if they want to with a mistrial. And I know people are saying, oh, this is a win. You know, what do you know? He wasn't found guilty. Isn't this great? No, he was brought to court. How on earth is this man brought to court when illegals are trespassing on his ranch? I believe they were actually armed as well. And he's just defending his property. You can't have a country if you don't have private property. You just can't have freedom without private property. And again, people want to sit there and say that this is a win. I see people posting about it saying, oh, it's such a great thing to see. The legal system comes through. No, it didn't. The process is the punishment.
Yeah,
and this dude's like, well, I think he's like...
For all we know, there was one patriot out of 12 people on the jury that just wouldn't be swayed. Because we don't know what the numbers really were.
So no, they came out, and it was actually the inverse, apparently. Which is good, which was somewhat good to see. Good. Yeah. But I mean, this is... I forget exactly his age. I thought they would say it pretty soon in here. But he's like some 80-year-old dude. Like 70-something-year-old dude. How else is he supposed to defend his property other than shooting them? What's he going to do, go punch him in the face? I mean, come on. Well, what's the option? You have a ranch that is over 100 acres like that. You can't get the police to you in time. And all you see is a bunch of illegals on your property. What was he supposed to do?
Shoot him in the leg?
Yeah, because that dude totally looks like Jason Bourne, right?
just shoot the gun out of his hand. You don't have to kill him.
It just... Arizona, man. I don't know why. I always imagined Arizona being a bit better of an area than I guess it is, but...
Well, based on the number and the type of laws that are having to be vetoed, apparently they've got a decent legislature. They just can't...
That is true.
...get anything past a knucklehead governor. But I don't see that changing, and I don't see Carrie Lake winning the Senate race either.
I thought the recent poll showed her basically like kind of right in line with where she needs to be. Like within, basically it's kind of showing her ahead, then he ahead, then it kind of goes back and forth.
Yeah, just like the governor race showed.
No, that's true. That's true.
if slanted polls aren't showing way ahead, she's in trouble.
So you think the polls are slanted in her favor?
No, the ones that would be typically slanted in her favor. If you don't see those like showing something massive, she's in trouble.
Gotcha.
In general, the polls are going to sway or are going to lean and skew Democrat. But what we've seen the last few cycles is the polls haven't been that far off.
Which is surprising, right? Like everyone keeps saying like the polls are really far off, yet it just hasn't been the case. Like almost all these elections, they've been kind of accurate. There's only been like a few cases you can point to where they weren't.
What you watch for are the polls now, because now what the polls are used is to set a narrative, and to create a story and to create a movement. And what you'll see, the change in the poll starts to happen a month or 2 or 3 weeks out from the election, and then you'll see it kind of get to where it's going to land. And then the last ones that they show are the ones that are the most accurate.
Which I mean, I believe there's some like news clippings you can find of like really early on in our country where they were like polling towns and it was apparently totally false. They just put fake numbers in there to try to seem like the place was actually like 70% for this person when in reality no one was even polled. It got into people's mind when they read it that, oh, this must be the consensus basically. And it's kind of a wider spread version of that at this point with a lot of them. But yeah. I mean, there's people out there who are actually trying to make the argument that Trump's going to win New York, right? Like, come on.
Right.
Now, I mean, if we had a proper system of voting where only people who were competent voted, then yes, he might win New York. Who knows? Where only net taxpayers voted or something, then yeah, he would win.
Well, and only taxpayers that are above the ground. That's also a key component.
Yes. No, that's what I mean. As in people who, people who are giving in to the system more than
People
they're
who are
taking out.
breathing. People who
Do
are
what?
breathing. People who are breathing and alive is what I'm getting at. Because the dead vote typically goes.
That's true.
The dead vote typically goes to the Democrat.
Oh man, what was it? There was like a bunch of people being registered to vote. They found who were already passed away. Like it was a huge, like in the tens of thousands of numbers they were getting in.
Of course.
It's like someone's doing this. Someone's doing it.
Yeah. So that wacky guy that lit himself on fire outside of the Trump trial.
Oh yeah.
Crazy.
Oh yeah, I
And
forgot about
apparently
that. That's bad. I've already forgot about that.
He was holding up a sign that was kind of dissing Trump and Biden, says they're working together.
Oh no, and the thing is, he was like Antifa type guy is the thing. Like he has pictures of both sides with people from both sides, but when you look at his postings, he was pretty much a communist for the most part. And
yeah,
which,
he,
I mean,
but he
you gotta be mentally ill to be a communist. So
he lit himself on fire at the Trump side, and so the the mainstream, they're saying that it was a Trumper that lit himself on fire.
They say it was a Trumper that lit himself on fire?
That's what the mainstream media was running with because he was on their side, even though his manifesto was completely not MAGA.
You mean we actually got his manifesto? They didn't try to hide it like they did in Tennessee?
Well, I don't know if it was technically a manifesto or not. It might have been all AI for all I know, but I saw a really long, I mean, it was super long.
You know, my favorite part about that video though is people in the comment section going, "Why are they recording? Why are they not helping him?" And I'll be like, "What are you supposed to do? He's doused himself with flammable fluids. Like you're gonna go touch that? I mean, come on."
Nope, not unless you got some sort of an asbestos coated blanket that you're gonna throw over him. You're not gonna do much.
But they can at least try to help him. I'm like, well, I mean, for one, he did it to himself, and two, I mean, what are you supposed to do? That's like seeing someone jump from a skyscraper and going, "No one tried to catch him."
So when the assumption was that he was a Trumper, they one of the comments was, "Well, he may have voted for Trump last time around, but we know for sure he's voting Biden this time."
It is nuts that we've had two people do this within just like a month of one another. I mean, and the left cheers for it. The left cheers for these people.
I can't imagine a more horrible death. I don't think. And what would be even worse if somebody did come and put it out after it had gone for.
Well, apparently the guy in New York lived for a little while afterwards.
Yeah, that's horrible.
Yeah, the guy in DC didn't live for any time at all. He got what he wanted. And that dude again, pro Palestine dude as well. But I mean, again, the left is experts at weaponizing the mentally ill. So are we too surprised at that? And I mean that quite literally. When you look at the stats, Democrats are way just head and shoulders above Republicans for rates of mental illness. It is crazy to look at when it comes to all sorts of mental illnesses. It's not just like, oh, they're like autistic or something like that. No, it's like they're schizophrenic and stuff like that.
Next week you need to bring the stats and prove that.
Yeah. I remember seeing it like a good while ago, but it's scary when you look at it and then go, wow, these people have just as much of a voice as you do. That again, that woman that we showed in the beginning who says, "I'm out here protesting, but I don't know what for." There's some hardworking guy out there who wants to put food on his table for his family, who goes to the voting booth and votes for what he thinks will be best to help his kids grow into a better world. And that vote will be canceled out by that idiot. It's why, again, we need to get rid of universal voting. Voting is a privilege, not a right, dang, and I will die on that hill.
we should do a whole show on that one, and I'll just let you riff on that.
That might be a whole day. I might just do like one of those 24-hour live streams. I'll just keep showing out like, oh, look at how many people enjoyed the latest season of Doctor Who, and none of them should ever be allowed to vote again.
Is that still going?
Yeah, now it's a gay black doctor.
Yeah, I saw that. I gave up several seasons ago.
I've actually, the only ones I've ever seen was in the early 2000s, and it was only like a few select episodes, like the whole Weeping Angels episodes and stuff like that, because let's face it, those were really iconic. I don't know. I've watched pretty much all of Star Trek, but I don't know. I have not watched much Doctor Who, to be honest.
Yeah, at its time, it was really, really solid. It lost its way.
From my understanding, it's like the very early seasons are actually pretty bad, and then we start getting to like the 90s and 2000s, it gets pretty good, and then it just kind of obviously drops off in recent time.
And I don't know what his politics are, but I'll never dislike David Tennant.
That's the guy in Game of Thrones now, right?
I'm not sure. I gave up on that after the crappy ending to the.
You didn't watch the new series they had?
No.
Yeah, I think because he's like one of like the main characters. Actually, he's actually really good in it. I think I know he's one of the doctors, so I think it's the guy. He's one of the early 2000s doctors, but does a great job with it as well as actually the guy who plays.
He was the villain. He was the villain in Jessica Jones too.
Yeah, I think that's the right guy then. Also, the guy who plays the monk's son in the Last Kingdom series is also one of the characters in it, and he does a really good job too. But with all that said, okay, well, we've been going for about 2 hours now, so I think we'll call it there.
It is past my bedtime.
Yes, I know it is, and you've already done one podcast a day anyway. So
no, actually, we didn't do one this week.
I just thought I missed it. Okay.
No, we had a week off this week, so.
What are you complaining about then?
I'm still not recovered from the weekend. I've been icing my arm from overuse and trying to catch up on sleep and taking your grandma to the doctor and all kind of stuff. So.
All right. Well, I think we should be on for next Thursday still, and there'll be some videos going on throughout the week, so feel free to check them out. Till next time, we'll see you again, hopefully real soon.